Yes,
Keeping
ma'am. Yes,
Quiet
ma'am.
by Pablo Neruda is what I have taken, which is very much part of our curriculum right now. I'm sure many of you have already completed it also. That's why I thought it's better I start with this. Okay. So as you can see, these are the few poems that we have to complete for the board examinees. I don't understand why an elementary school classroom has been eliminated. How many of you actually finished that poem and then got to know that a roadside stand has been taken up?
Yes, ma'am, I have completed, ma'am.
Vijayalakshmi ma'am, the
Yes,
same here.
ma'am.
You know,
Should Wizard Hit Mommy also I have completed, but that was also deleted.
okay. Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
shoot, wizard hit mommy. Up to that, you have gone. Oh my God. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I had really started, almost two stanzas were over. Then, thankfully, this message came over that we cannot. This is the same as yesterday's. This is meditation. And this is Pablo Neruda's famous words: poetry is an act of peace. He wanted to be the apostle of peace, the messenger. You find peace not by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but by realizing who you are at the deepest level. That is what he had famously told. And this is what is going to be the crux of it. Right, teachers? Now, here we start with the lesson plan. As always, subject is obviously English. Teachers, I want you, of course, this PPT, I'll be posting it over there. It needs to be followed in this pattern. Okay, when you are writing the lesson plan. Today, I'm going to ask you to write the lesson plan for the poem, Keeping Quiet. And in the examination also, similarly, some lesson will be asked. I am yet to decide. Obviously, that should be a surprise for you. So subject is English, class or classes handle 12A or 12A and B, both the sections suppose you are handling. Period, that is month of May or whatever. Or you can also say from 2nd of May to 7th of May. You're taking Pablo Neruda's Keeping Quiet. Number of periods per day, one period. So 5 periods or 4 periods, whichever you're getting. Topic is Keeping Quiet. Now we come over to the next one. What is content? I'm sure we all know that it is theme. So I'm going to really give it to you as well. Now, just for a change, most of us have been handling, barring a few teachers like Anantaraman sir and Valli ma'am. Others we have been handling. So we all know, right? Anything you would like to add up over here, teachers? Yes? No. No words over there. Fine. So lesson plan continued. This is where we are getting a little more specific. See, this is what CBSE is necessarily insisting. Up to 10 standard, there's a different kind of way. And here, the moment we call it 301 as literature, immediately our total paradigm shift is there. We completely go into these kind of verbal terminology. I'm sure you're, yes, sir? Excuse me? Did somebody call me? No. Okay. We all know Bloom's taxonomy. Through that taxonomy, if we are going to talk about, we will be seeing that various kinds of words are given. There are so many different kinds of words that can be used. Of this, not all will be required for you to prepare today's assignment. That is, prepare the lesson plan for Keeping Quiet. But you can word it, acquire the knowledge of, if you want it, or understand and learn to empathize with the commoners or those victims of the war. You know, when we started with Keeping Quiet this year, comparatively it was easier because of the Russia-Ukraine war over there, and all the children are pretty much aware of it, and they were quite hooked into the television. So when we started talking about it, each one of them had his or her own way of presenting it. So understand and learn to empathize with how they had to suddenly move out of their country, the mass exodus that we saw, the images of the small boy walking all alone with tears rolling down his eyes, those are permanently etched in our memory in the recent past that we saw on the television screen. Then appreciate the nuances of poetry, develop the curiosity to learn more, analyze and have the self realization. You know what I actually do? I always go for this class with the word that the teachers always have the single word from time to time: keep quiet, don't shout, keep your mouth shut, keep quiet, keep quiet, keep quiet. We say, I keep on saying, every teacher says it. So I ask the children, that's kind of breaking the ice and setting the mood over there. So for that, I ask them, what do you think and will be the important or rather the consequences of keeping quiet? You just think for 2 minutes. That's what I tell the children, and ask them to come up with their own valid reasons as to why our teacher always insists on keeping quiet. And I've always seen that they come up with something like this. Sets the mood. They say, I'm able to calm down. And one child, interestingly, this time added that because I'm quiet, I'm able to remind myself that the last time, because I didn't focus in the lesson, I couldn't learn. So this time I must. So with this kind of self-realization, it always helps. So keeping quiet, I tell them, and when we are going through the poem, again, the same thing we are going to highlight upon: introspection and retrospection. These are the two important words over there. Anyway, coming back to this, appreciate the style over here. Then interpret the theme and purpose. Identify the poetic devices. Comprehend the poem. Get exposed to the world of spirituality. Over here, it's spirituality. But with my mother at 66, we certainly don't say get exposed to the world of spirituality, to the real world. The girls, after their marriages in Indian context, they have to leave their paternal homes and move out. They are divided in their duties between their real life duties or their extended family and the family that they have left behind. Recognize or realize how, compare with. So any 3, maximum 4, you can pick it up from here. Please do not use all of them. That will be a blatant lie. We all know it's not humanly possible to have everything over there. So we know certain classes. Now, why do I say this? Look, among our classes, one class might be slightly better. We know we can mold them over to the higher order thinking. So over there, my objectives are slightly different. Whereas with not so very, very good or meritorious students, my end result or my end objective is not something so great. In that case, I can dilute it over. So accordingly, we always have that setup. You all will agree with me. We teach the same lesson to 2 different sections, but we do not follow the same kind of methodology, because deep down inside, we know our objectives aren't going to be the similar. We have to tailor it according to their requirements. What am I looking forward to? Accordingly, you will be deciding it over. So that's what we always consciously think it over. We do our own homework, isn't it? We have to do our homework, and it's not necessarily preparing the lesson. Often, how do I simplify for one set of students, and for another students, how do I raise the order so that I can train them for 95 plus marks? This is what we are consciously doing every now and then. And for that reason only, there are different variations, various kinds of choices I have given before you. You decide whichever you are planning to utilize for your specific class. Okay. Now we go over to the next bit of it. Now, before that, I would like to have from your side anything else that you can add up over here. I was very particular that I should pick up from your side as well. Something you want me to add up over here, teachers? Nobody is talking to me today. It's very difficult.
Madam, actually, whatever important, whatever things are essential, you told. So no comments from us.
Who's this talking to me? I'm sorry, I couldn't make it.
Madam, Anantaraman, I'm.
Okay, Anantaraman sir. Others, please. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
They
You're
will
all
extend
here.
their horizon in narrating their own imaginative stories, or they will extend their horizon to write their own poems. They will have their interest in learning. They'll get towards the language. That's very important in teaching.
Very good. Develop the love for poetry. That's what.
Madam,
The flair for writing. Come again.
Madam, here Crystal Mary.
Yes.
You have given the phrase compare with. We can also give contrast with like that.
Yes. Sure,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
Sure. That's what I want to see from you.
Thank
You
you.
can contrast with the real world as I was contrasting. What happens in this war-infested Russia, Ukraine, and the war and the place somewhere where it isn't. So contrast the situation and tell how it is beneficial. Thank you so much, teachers. I want you to add up from your side as well. Please remember that in the classroom we teach, but anything new that comes up, we certainly do appreciate that. So I don't want you to stick on only to these boundaries. You are, free. You have the complete liberty to add up something that you are doing in your classroom and really enrich us with that. If you remember my introductory message, I said, we are going to have an enriched journey. It's a journey for me as well. And every session is a learning session for me as well. So please don't think that it's be all and end all. I would love to learn from you. Okay. So far, so good. Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Okay. So after that, what do? We actually have set out our mind that this is what we are going to get it. So methodology we have to use, isn't it? So warm-up activity. For certain lessons, you will find that it's already given over there. You can always utilize them. If you think that whatever is given over there in the textbook, we needn't use it. Teachers, I'm trying to tell you that this is how we are going to write the lesson plan over there. You can be specific. We actually write it, isn't it, in our lesson plan or the teacher's diary, whichever name that you're using in your specific school, we do write it. Namaste, Mallika ma'am.
Namaste. Please go ahead, madam.
Oh, I thought you wanted to speak. Yes,
No,
ma'am.
no,
Thank you.
no.
I'll take over. A warm-up activity. See, so far, what did we do? We have started with everything. We have decided it over. As I said, with different kind of section, different kind of warm-up activity will be there. With the brighter ones, whatever we are going to do, for the weaker ones. Now, warm, all kinds. The classroom is a heterogeneous group. But then predominantly what? Accordingly, we decide. Predominantly, they are quite meritorious. We can take them, as I said, to 90 plus. In that case, the warm-up activity can be completely different. We can ask them to talk about, as I said, for the keeping quiet. The moment I opened up about Russia-Ukraine war, immediately my section, my children, they were ready with their images and they were quickly saying, yes, ma'am, I remember on television seeing this. I remember this. And they were flooding us literally with all kinds of information. This also you can do. Instead of sticking on to the textbook and talking about the efficacy and the usefulness of yoga and meditation in our individual lives, we can slightly change it over. Now, additional appropriate discussion to open their minds. This also we can give it. What discussion over here, as I'm saying, anything which is contemporary and relevant, children will be appreciating that. We make a mistake in saying that they are not interested in news, but if told properly, they are ready to come up with it. As I was sharing with you yesterday, we tell them, go serve the net and come back. They are coming back. This can be elicit related experience. The one that I did in the beginning, I said, when you keep quiet in the classroom, what are the benefits of it? The teacher insists. So what is it that you get? So those kind of things are also the warming up sessions. They opened up. Yes, ma'am. When we keep quiet before the class, we just take a quick 1 minute. We close our eyes and meditate. When you insist upon us, we are able to calm ourselves down. And we are able to take up the message in a much better way. So this also can be used. That read in turns. Any language acquisition, LSRW. So listening, speaking, reading, writing. Listening they are, speaking they have to, reading also should be. And while reading in poetry, we will teach them not to read but to recite it. So they will know that they have to follow the right kind of punctuation over there. Colon, semicolon, comma, the pauses, how long, how short, that also we are teaching them. And of course, we are correcting them on the pronunciations. So reading is essential. This we cannot do away with. See why I am talking about certain things? Certain things you can eliminate from here. But certain things you have to, no matter whatever lesson plan you're writing, there has to be read in terms. This is a necessary aspect over there. I'm sure you are writing, but for the sake of examination, when you are writing, I need that on your paper. Sometimes you know what happens? Explanation of the lesson with the help of PowerPoint. During the COVID, this we were necessarily doing. Another thing, you know, some of you might have been handling 10th standard. Nelson Mandela, the lesson. Isn't it that we all play the audio track over there? We play the audio track. The original audio track is available in the net, and that is having not only Nelson Mandela's original speech. And then I tell the children, come on, are you able to find out the extract which is taken? It's in the beginning and the end. That's what you get it. And that precisely is there in their textbook also. They're thrilled. And as I told you, I'm getting them ready for the listening activity also. So their ears are tuned into all kinds of pronunciations and they won't have any trouble whatsoever later. You can play the audio track. Yesterday, I played the video. Certain times it's a video which is available. We play the video to set the mood in. Sometimes you can play the video at the end of it and then ask them, what are this is what I do for the lesson, the last lesson. Find out the differences between the story and the video. Where are the deviations? They come up with their deviations. So my job is done. They've thoroughly read the book. They have intently watched the movie and they know what has to be incorporated and what not. So they also know for the dramatization, there are certain things which needs to be added up. Whereas for the textbook writing or for writing, it's a different genre and hence the presentation is completely different. Because eventually we have to train them for those kind of media. Some children, you know, these days they're thrilled with the media. Thankfully, they would like to. And in that case, they are into script writing. Ma'am, can I write the script? We'll write it. They're so thrilled about it. So I tell them, you have to be careful with these things. And finally, we have to explain the new words, phrases, idioms. I ask you teachers, can we do away with the last point? No, isn't it? Absolutely not. Every lesson has its own vocabulary to add up to. And we have to enrich their vocabulary as well. So everywhere, we have to point out those words, those idiomatic expressions, and of course, we will go ahead with this now. Evaluation strategy is the last one. So for evaluation, what do? Project you can ask for. Usually, this also will be a group effort. Some people take it individually as well. I showed you one project yesterday on the lesson plan. They can be asked to give a speech on the efficacy or the usefulness of keeping quiet, or the need for universal peace and brotherhood, or even you can have a debate on whether war can be a solution for all our problems, or peace is the ultimate way. Because today's 21st century, the moment you say, they are quite belligerent a lot. One student went over, ma'am, what are you asking then? If somebody is going to take away my land, do I give it away? I said, no, you have to discuss. How do we do that? So a nice debate actually started. I divided the class into 2 groups. I said, just turn around and face each other. And I am at the center, I am the moderator, and these two. One, you have to go in favor of peace, the other one in favor of war. What can bring the ultimate solution? So that's how at the end, the moderator, I go on to say that no, you have to come to the discussion table. You should have that empathetic note. You should have that patient hearing. You should be able to listen to others, and then only a permanent solution can come up for any kind of problem. We are saying live and let live. Isn't that the motto of the poem? That's the ultimate theme of this particular poem. And that is what we were trying to say. And they had to come up with their personal experiences. I didn't talk to so-and-so for so long because she had told me this. We had a fight, we couldn't. It was nice patching up over there as well. Or you can ask them to prepare a mind map, how the story develops, or even a flow chart. For the lesson, Evans tries an O level. We all know there are so many things happening over there. And trust me, teachers, you don't have to do anything. Give them the very one work of preparing a flow chart for the lesson. Evans tries an O level. Now, what we have come over to, we have come over to the final stage over there, how we are going to write about the evaluation strategies. Mind map will be used for certain lessons, whereas flow chart will be required for a few more. As I said, mind map, I'm going to show it to you actually. For keeping quiet, I'll be opening my PPT and show it to you how I have incorporated the mind map over here itself. In the successive slides, you will be able to see. But with flow chart also you can use. And that we are doing whenever the lesson is too wordy. There are so many things happening. Some of you who have already taught the lesson, Evans tries an O level, will know how difficult it is for the children to remember. So what we do is that we divide them into different groups. Sometimes I personally give them and tell them this is the easiest way to remember the ordering of the events. And after that, it becomes easier for them to remember it. Now, present PPT, that also they come up. And it's certainly not on the lesson. As you can see, they come up with their presentation on a topic. See, for this lesson itself, it can be taken in different ways. I need not be very spiritual over here. Because spiritual, the moment you talk about it, at this age group, they frown at it. So the best way that we can do it actually is that we tell them that you prepare a PPT on the justification of keeping quiet. And they come up with their own anecdotes, their stories, their personal experiences. They put beautiful images of everybody jabbering. I remember last year when we were doing on it, the children came over with lovely videos because it was online classes. They were showing how, and recently I saw from one of the advertisements, something like that going on. Everybody is talking, nobody is listening. So what happens is that when you keep quiet and give a patient hearing, then only a solution comes. So those kind of lovely videos, audios, everything they had added in their PPTs, and they were trying to put it across, and trust me, it's such a hilarious one. Children enjoyed as much as I enjoyed watching it. And my end result was clear. They understood why they have to keep quiet and understand the importance of the two words which I'm repeating over and over again: introspection, retrospection. Introspection, with that we analyze our own selves. With the retrospection, we look back and try to correct whatever mistakes we have done. So both ways, the keeping quiet poem, the very justification is done. Now coming back to, these are all during the classroom sessions evaluation strategies. Apart from that, ERC questions I prepare, I give it to them. I also, for this particular question, for this lesson, I have fill-ups. I'll share it with you. I'll show it to you. I have MCQs, which we all have, because for the last 2 years, we were working on term 1 methodology, where we had to have ample number of MCQs. So that also is there. Short question answers, long question answers. Again, long question answer has been incorporated only very recently for this term 2. And we are told it is going to continue. So all these kinds of questions we can incorporate, we can show it in the lesson plan so as to make them understand whatever it is. Right, teachers? So far, so good. So today what I am trying to tell you is how to write the lesson plan, which will be your assignment for today, and you will be able to prepare it. I'll also provide you with all the materials. Some of you are absolutely new. You're going to take up the lesson only this time. So, like Valli ma'am said, similarly, Anantaraman sir has also informed me that he is yet to join the school. So for your benefit, I'll add my own PPT also today, so that you can use it. No need to join hands. Valli ma'am, you're really embarrassing me like anything. We're all fellow teachers. Come on. Don't we take the help of each other? If I ask for some help, won't you help me? I know you will be the first one. Am I right? Right? Yes. So don't join hands. That is too difficult. Okay. Lesson plan is there. Lesson plan methodology, and then pre-reading session. Teachers, the only thing I said that while you are writing, think it over. Which one are you going to use for the poem? And then accordingly tailor make it. If you have something new to add up, please add it up in the assignment. Like I said, that some original creative answer we do appreciate from the student side. I would love to see something new from your side. Now, pre-reading. Why keeping quiet? This is what I told the children. I tell them, what are the benefits of it? Justification of the title, setting of the context. That is universal peace, brotherhood is the ultimate aim for all of us as world citizens. Yesterday, we were talking in the Indian context. In spite of its diversity, India boasts of a unified front. And today, through the keeping quiet, we always tell them that universal peace and brotherhood should be the ultimate motto. And I also remind them, India and Switzerland are the only 2 countries in the world which has never ever attacked any other foreign land or tried to annex it. Our very, very peace, non-violent attitude that we have been maintaining for generations altogether. Yes, ma'am, Surya Prabha ma'am, principal ma'am, thank you so much. We do add up all these things because at the end of the day, we need those proud Indian citizens. I told you, every lesson plan, that objective is very, very important, that we are building the next generation. And in the next generation, we want conscientious citizens and patriotic Indians. So somewhere, wherever possible, we do add up these kind of information so that they are proud of their lineage and they make it a point to continue. Now, interdisciplinary subject, this is the latest one, right? This is the latest one that CBSE has added up. We have to tell them. Yesterday, we were contrasting it with history. Agreed? Over here, what are we going to talk about? Spirituality, which is the forte, which is the foundation for Indian philosophy. And so when we are talking about it, we can always say in DAV, we do Havan, isn't it? We necessarily talk to them. We talk about meditation as well. We talk about higher spiritual goals as well. Amritasya putra ayang. This is what we constantly keep on reminding them, that we are all God's children and we have immense potentialities. So raise your own. Look deeper and try to enrich yourself. So those kind of things is with which we are starting. But again, we don't overdo on this part, because after all, our target audience is only 17 or 18 years old, sometimes even 16 as well. And certainly this sweet 16, 17 teenager is not ready for spiritual goal. So we don't scare them up with those words, but we do tell them that through meditation, you are able to give your best to the world. You are able to extract the best out of you. So with those kind of words, they do certainly understand and they try to do it. So that's what I do. And finally, the refer to the PPT, all these things you will get it. Because for the content part, you will require my theme. You can look at it and then decide it over. Title and message, synopsis, everything I have given. Pictorial depiction also I have given. Now, teachers, before I go into this, I intentionally added it over here. I have told that important tenets that I have added over here. The base quality. Why do you think pictures are so important? I need to catch up. Give some rest to my throat while you think it over. Tell me. See,
Ma'am,
in
maybe the visual, excuse me, ma'am, maybe
Yes,
the
yes.
visual learners, especially their imagination would be triggered when we show them a
Exactly, ma'am.
picture.
Isn't it, ma'am? We always say that, Principal ma'am, that we hear and we forget, but we see and we remember.
Yeah, very true. Yes.
So that's where, if I'm able to, at the end of the day, this poem is highly loaded. It's quite difficult for 16, 17-year-old. I'll show it to you what I have added. And this is that mind map. Now, what is that mind map? For every word, I have tried to give the synonymous words. I've tried to tell them over like this. I prepared. This is which is available. You can, every teacher of English over here utilizes this in order to break it into smaller modules. Maybe I'm sounding like a science teacher, but for the sake of our children, we have to make it very, very simple. The barest minimum, and looking at this, they are able to remember. So one also utilized over here. I've tried to add up everything. Stop doesn't mean merely stop. Stop and analyze. Second, the smallest entity. But then also I tell the children, for your generation, it's nanosecond. But second is basically what we say is the smallest module. Rush's hurry, desire to defeat others. Engines refers to what? Activities and motives. You're always in a mad rush. We are in a competition. We are in a rat race. So I try to tell them, and they are able to appreciate that. That's how we go on trying with all these different things. Okay, right. This is the mind map. You think it over. What will you utilize over there? Okay, like I said, for certain lessons, the mind map will work. The best way it works with the other poem also. My Mother at 66. We are able to do it in such a beautiful way. But with the prose lessons, it's always the flow chart. Even with Indigo. What do you think? Indigo, we are constantly contrasting. Yesterday, we were doing the prose lessons. Which will work over there? Think it over, teachers. What will work? Mind map or a flow chart?
A flow chart, ma'am, because it's a sequence of events.
Absolutely, ma'am. And that's why sometimes teachers, we don't have to do it on our own. Trust me. I have seen that if we tell them, come on, you are in 12th standard, you're so grown up, you can do it on your own. The children come up with the best. And that way, as I'm telling you, my job is secured because I know that they have gone through the textbook thoroughly. I know my job. I have been able to accomplish my task. It's very difficult to bring the children to the textbook. They are ready to read everything. They are ready to serve the net throughout the night. But it is very difficult to compel them to read the textbook. And how do I compel them? I tell them you're doing something scientific. You're doing a flow chart. And it is interconnected, whatever your computer science students, and you can't place this into a flow chart. Come on, you can do it. And they say, yes, ma'am, we'll do a flow chart. And that's how we have to learn to really extract work out of them and at the same time get our job accomplished. Right, teachers? So for roughly what we say is that for poetry, mind map works. For the prose lessons, if it is too wordy, it is always better to go for a flow chart. Similarly, for deep water also, series of things happening. So give it in a chronological order. At the age of 6, at the California beach, this happened. What was the consequence? It's written over there. Then at the age of when he went over to the YMCA pool, how old was he? Those specifications are given. The child finds it very easy. And whatever the child does with his or her own hands, the child will be interested. Even later on, if the child doesn't hit the book, but goes and refers to whatever he or she has done or his or her friend has done, they go through it, my job is done. The child knows the story absolutely perfectly well. That's what you can try it out. I personally feel. What else do you do, teachers? Can you share those tricks with me, please? I would like to know that as well. What else do you do to bring
For
them
the
back
prose,
to the
yes,
textbook?
for the prose, usually ask them to take notes.
Take notes in the sense, Vijayalakshmi ma'am, how do you ask them?
They have to read the lesson and take notes in the note.
Okay, note making kind of thing.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, that is also nice. Very helpful it will be. Indigo.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
they will know the year 1906, Calcutta Convention. He's sitting all alone over there, like that. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. See,
That's also
note
will
making
work.
will help. Very good. What else? What else can be done? See, you can write note making also. That's another methodology. You can give that. I'll try it out, Vijayalakshmi ma'am, next
Yeah, yes,
time. I'm yet to try this note-making kind of thing from my children. I actually do that for the 11th standard textbook. You remember those interview and other things we have, and even journey, the Silk Road. Silk Road, I necessarily give it to them for note-making. That is the time we teach them note-making, and I ask them from their Silk Road lesson from 11th standard to go for note-making. That way they are able to maintain the correct order, and I keep them only abbreviations, no full form. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll try it out for 12th as well. What
Yes.
else can you teach me? Please share your ideas. While I take a sip of water, okay? I need to give some rest to my voice as well. Tell me. We are done?
Framing questions, ma'am, from the text, pictorial representation. So
I
in
can't hear
grade,
you. Very
ma'am,
sorry.
for grade 8, 7 and 8 and all, I'll ask them to make pictorial representation of a particular lesson
Yes,
and
yes.
framing questions. So like some comic strips, they will enjoy doing it so that they will put it in a box with an arrow mark. The story goes this way. This way. they will
Yes, ma'am.
represent.
Yes.
Interesting
10th
way.
standard, there is that lesson, no, ma'am, that a stranger comes over and how he tricks him and locks him up in a house. 2 years before I was handling, 2-3 years before I was handling 10th standard, I forgot that story. They
I
used
The
to come.
midnight visitor. The midnight visitor.
Exactly,
Okay,
midnight visitor. Yes, yes, that I tried once. Very nice it was. The kind of cartoon characters they prepared, but with nice sketches they made. Right. Valli ma'am, thank you. Mary ma'am, you want to say something? Go ahead.
I would make sure that the children are writing the meanings and everything in the textbook itself. At the end of the
Yes.
year, the textbook should not
Be
be a
blank.
new book.
That is
Blank.
something
Everything.
we
Okay.
try from the
everything.
junior classes itself. That's mandatory. There is no question of forgetting that. If it happens, I really get wild actually. True, ma'am. The textbook is
yeah.
the ultimate Bible. Without that, they cannot start, ma'am.
Yeah, taking down notes, sometimes they may miss the note somewhere, but the textbook will be there at the till the end. So everything will be there. So
Ma'am,
anytime they can see phrases and anything, all meanings and all important words underlined, that will be helpful at the end of
yes, ma'am.
their
Ma'am, when we do that note making, no, we actually ask them to pin it up along with on that particular page. They do it in our
That
tear
is
of sheets
wonderful.
we have.
That is wonderful.
Tear of sheets, we have it in DAV culture. So they write it over there, they fold it and pin it up over there. For my lesson, that Silk Road, when I do it, I ask them to keep it pinned up over there. Otherwise, they tend to lose touch with it. Vijayalakshmi,
Yeah,
ma'am,
that's
how
correct.
do you ensure that it is there? You keep it in the classwork or elsewhere?
Yes, ma'am. I asked them to attach with the classwork note.
Attach it in the classwork itself.
Yes.
Right, ma'am. We all have our methodologies. Well, I start with this author's note, and he's a Nobel Prize winner. So they remember that if you're talking about peace and universal brotherhood, definitely you will be clinching the ultimate prize in this world. And then this kind of images. World peace begins with inner peace. Dalai Lama's words. I have used similar words in your PPT as well. Then I go over to the introduction, an anti-war poem. Now, why do I add this? This is the latest one that I have added. Simply because now, from this year, our children are expected to write long question answers in poetry. And if it is a long question answer, we know that it has to be for 3 paragraphs. And the first paragraph is that introductory paragraph. And in that introductory paragraph, they need to write 1 or 2 sentences, which will be necessarily the very gist of the poem. So for that, I allow them to read through this over and over again so that they remember it. And this is the image that had gone actually viral in the first phase of the lockdown. This is Delhi's famous locality, and how this kind of vultures had come down in this complete quietness. So I was trying to tell them that quietness should not be taken as something very, very scary, but this is what it happens. Theme, as I told you, this will be required. I put it in points the way you want it, or you want to add up something for your content teachers, please feel free to utilize it. You can use your own theme over there. But as I said, live and let live, to me, is the very crux or the pivotal line around which the entire poem has actually been built up. Frantic rat race, destructive activities, futile work, these kind of words, and make them read over and over again. While some are reading, and I usually call those kind of weaker students to come over and read it so that they get acquainted to these words, and those who are listening also, they get to hear it. Title I have added, message I have added. Then after that, there is a synopsis also, which might be something that you would like to utilize for your content or anywhere else. Then I give this kind of an annotation. The line, the basic points, the poetic devices. Again, the 2 lines, the very surmise of it, and then the poetic devices again. So this is how I try to break it up. Now, this is what I wanted to say, the pictorial depiction. The word exotic moment, those of us who are handling for so many years, we know this is a commonly asked question. Why does he call it an exotic moment? Because this is strange, this is unusual, this is out of the world. If I tell them, they don't seem to remember so much. So I have taken the pictures, I tell them, imagine a lonely island, a very, very beautiful a place, but then it is so very, very different from the regular ones. I help them like this to remember my words without rush. Somehow this picture, I spoiled it today. I thought I could manage it. Sorry, I'll adjust it later before I really send it over to you. Here also the rush. If this is not there, how our life will turn. And then without engines, this is what dominates our life. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So this is what we, different kinds of attires, different kinds of skin colors, different kinds of looks. That's what I'm trying to say through this. Again, the next set of lines, the same way. The words highlighted, their meanings, the poetic devices. Then again, the pictorial depiction. They have gone to the deeper sea, what and all they are doing, the exploitation of nature, and the salt and the hurt hands. That how, by harming others, we are actually harming ourselves. Those who prepare green wards, before, after. Then also, this is again before, after. Bhopal gas tragedy, which they can never forget. This is something always there as a black spot on Indian history. Wars with fire, the nuclear explosions, victories with no survivors. Would put on clean clothes, how these kind of seminars are taking place to bring in world peace. And again, this next setup, earth can teach us. How? From nothing, the green suddenly sprouts. Poem with a purpose. Now, teachers, why did I have to add up this? When we look at the sample papers, we are yet to get, our board examination is on 13th, expecting some kind of a different kind of question altogether. But if you look at the questions, the two questions that were given, one was given from Aunt Jennifer in the sample paper. Over there, they are basically talking about women's liberation, emancipation, right? And also a thing of beauty. We don't have any question from Aunt Jennifer. In the sample paper, we have a question from A Thing of Beauty, which talks about Keatsian concept of beauty in general. So over here, everything, what I find is that everything with a purpose they are asking. So for this poem also, what is it was the purpose that he had to write it. So for that, as I have added in your PPT, that every poem is there with the purpose of peace. I have tried to add up over here, which will help my children to frame their answer in a better way. To cleanse oneself of all guilt and hatred, to chastise mankind for murder of animals and other men, and reminds them of the ultimate thing is nobody is a winner in a war. This is precisely what our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has told yesterday in Germany. Both are going to lose in this battle. And in the process, along with Russia and Ukraine, the humanity is at a loss today. So that is what we will be talking to them about. To criticize the divisive tendency of man, let us not speak in any language. Language, instead of binding us with one another, has divided us more. To question the way we move through our lives without pausing or caring for, that's the biggest malady of today's world. We just don't care. That empathizing, that considerate attitude, these things I'm also reminding my children through this is what they need to cultivate in their personal lives. And then the language of this poem. Because what I notice is that in the CBSE questionnaire, in the long questions, they can always add up in the most simplest of manner, in the simple common words, but it actually goes on to sensitize. Those of you who have taught it, you will know that this is basically the answer to the textual question. Is the language adequate? This is a textual question, and we all say that with the simple language, he has been able to achieve the most important thing, because it's always very difficult to be so simple, and simple things always touch every chord in our heart. So this had to be incorporated. What if my second question, instead of asking what is the purpose or how he spreads the goodwill and peace and brotherhood through this poem, instead if they ask the question to my children for 5 marks, how this language has been instrumental in spreading wonderful messages around, that's why I had to do this. So here it is. through this lesson, actually, we are expected to teach them a few words, right? Introspection, retrospection, and then universal brotherhood. And as I told you, we have all kinds of students. So I find it always the easiest to give them this kind of a fill in the blanks. And for difficult lessons, I keep this and ask them to fill it up. This is given as home assignment, so that they don't get to, but these days, you know, with telephones and other things, nothing, the sanctity is not maintained. But earlier, I remember I used to take a printout of this. If time permits, I have ample time, then I also dictate it over and ask them to do it within the next 5-10 minutes. See, as I told you, poem by, what I mean is Nobel Prize winner. So what will happen while they are writing the introduction to the poem, that is in the long question answer in the introductory paragraph, they'll surely write the word Nobel Prize winner Pablo Neruda, because I want them to write it. In the board, we know you have to add up something new. This Neftali, Ricardo Reyes, Bosalto, this humanly not possible. The children, they enjoy it so much. They want to write it. They by heart it and they write it. And this is something we all know as English students, that he always wrote with green ink. And he always believed that's a color of hope. And that's what they love to remember. So I allow them to remember that. And retrospection, the day aim is to return to our routines with renewed vigor, and they continue to write, they think it over. Sometimes 4-lettered word it is, or how many lettered word, I'll keep on telling them, I'll play with the guessworks. I have another file also where I have the answers. If you want it, let me know. I have my answer also ready with me. Nobel Prize with green ink, aim to return with renewed vigor and awareness, introspection, retrospection, all those words, which I want them to necessarily remember, and come what may, to include in their answers, is what I have tried to keep it as blank. And while they go through it again and again, how I do it, after they finish, I make them keep on reading. For 3 to 4 people, they read it. During the revision period also, I make them read this. This is how I do it. Teachers, your plans, how are you doing it? Hello. How are you doing? What is your method? Share it with me. I'm very, very stingy a person. If I give something, I want something also in return. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Share, share, share.
Ma'am, what we try to do is like the main value points from this
Yes.
poem, we
Ah.
ask them to write down and pin it up on the pin board.
Sorry,
like,
ma'am, I didn't get you. And fill it?
Ma'am, it's a group activity, ma'am. Like
Okay.
3 to 4 children. We
Huh?
during revision, we
Huh.
ask them to list down the key points of the poem
Hmm.
and pin it up on the pin board, so other children also can have a glance at it.
Hey, brilliant.
No,
And all
because
the while it is
each
there.
one, yeah, each
Ah.
one will be learning in their own pace. Not necessarily everybody should be reading the
Very
poem
true.
at the same time. So once a group is ready, they put it up on the pin board. Others can just look at it for reference. This is one, but
Absolutely,
every
ma'am.
group has to contribute any one prose or poem or supplementary reader
Yes,
story.
ma'am. That even
They
I
have to
do.
list down
I
the
tell them that
points.
then only you get your internal marks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I say that's your internal marks. If your portfolio is not filled, then you haven't done anything, so no marks at all. That's a good idea, ma'am. I didn't try the spinning on the pin board. That is a good idea, ma'am. And wherever they are, even during the lunch hours, they are able to see it. So consciously, unconsciously, knowingly, unknowingly, it gets registered with them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much, Principal Ma'am. Thank you so much. Anything else?
Ma'am, a request, ma'am. Please, a request. Please call me Sukanya, ma'am.
Yes.
I would prefer that. Thank
Call
you.
me Sukanya.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay, Sukanya. Okay, Sukanya, ma'am. Sure. Sukanya, ma'am, and others, are you able to see this? ERC questions.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Now, compared to My Mother at 66, this is definitely a little tougher a poem, right? This is much tougher a poem, and that's why after that fill in the blanks kind of thing, I have to take them over through this ERC. Now it's coming back, right? We all know it's coming back according to the curriculum that has been released by CBSE. We know it's coming back. So this is again another easier way to go through this. So they frame it. But Sukanya ma'am, I was just thinking the same thing. Instead of me giving this year, I can ask them to prepare it as well, right? Along with the answers, and ask them to pin it up for the next 10 days.
Yes, ma'am, it is the students who do it. Actually, when they do it, it's an ownership. And another thing, like, of course, if a particular group has prepared it in detail, like they are, of course, complimented by their classmates.
Of course, and that
Their handwriting,
figure
yeah,
out.
that's why. Yeah.
Okay, right, ma'am. That can be done. I'm going to try this out with this poem this time. And as you said, there is always a nice, healthy rivalry that is going on whenever we give this kind of a task. They try to really put it up over there as their best. The claps that they get and the kind of compliments that they get, not only from the teachers, but from their fellow classmates as well, is a real good impetus. Thank you. I'll ask them to prepare it, and after presenting in the classroom, it needs to be pinned up on the pinboard. That's a novelty, yes. So this is what I have, but this time I'm going to suppress it. I'm going to ask them to do it on their own, but this is what I have. And the last one, as I would like to show the refresher materials we share. This is what we do. This is, of course, as you can make it out from the BBC publications, but here again, teachers, tomorrow I'm going to help you with how to correct, and how to correct in the sense you all correct, obviously. But in the board, the way yesterday, as I was telling you, I give this kind of question along with the answers to the children and ask them to underline the 2 value points over there. So this is what I continue to do. That way it gets really impressed on their minds that necessarily 2 marks question means I should know those 2 value points, then only my answer can be written. Because we all agree, teachers, that selection of the question is winning half the battle. So for that reason, I genuinely give these kind of questions, and that way they are exposed to n number of questions and the variety of it. By the way, which publication do you people usually adhere to? Anything specific? Vijayalakshmi ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Arihant, ma'am. We are using Arihant.
You are using Arihant.
Yes.
Okay.
All in one.
Come again?
All in one.
Volume 1. Okay.
All in one, ma'am.
Okay, all in one. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All in one. Okay. I've seen all in one.
Arihant.
Arihant also I've seen.
Yes.
Oswald publications too.
Oswald.
Oswald publications. Yes, that's another popular one. Others? You can try this also, ma'am. Here the language is really beautiful. Of course, it will be meant for those creamy layer, as we call it. But as we all wish to improve, or rather build up the flair for the language for everybody, you can try this as well. This is BBC publication. Delhi based.
Could you repeat it, madam?
BBC.
Okay.
Ma'am, you can go through this. If you like it, then you give. Of course, for some of my students, I don't allow them to touch this also. Look at the words: incessant suffering, efforts to add comforts to his life. He has paid no heed to the pain he has been causing to himself. However, when not up and doing. So this will be difficult for some children where I'm just aiming for 60 to 65%. I don't give this. Then I rely on something simpler.